Cameroon is a country in the West Central African region. The country is made up of 10 regions, amongst which two of the regions, the Northwest and Southwest, are English-speaking. That is, the former British Southern Cameroon. These regions amongst our population are indigenous people, the Bororos, who are pastoralists. In the year 2016, the two English-speaking regions started witnessing the socio-political crisis, which has persisted till date. The acts perpetrated by the protagonists of the crisis, which has led to the burning and closure of schools, destruction of roads, private and public property, indiscriminate killing, threats, kidnapping, and ransom-taking, amongst others, has greatly affected these indigenous people, especially women and girls. Bororo women and girls are often being marginalized and discriminated upon due to cultural and traditional practices, which always prevent them from pursuing education. The situation has been aggravated by the ongoing socio-political crisis, as girls have abandoned school and ran far into the bushes. Some migrated to other towns and others forced to get married. It is for this reason that Forum des Femmes Autochtones du Cameroun, FAC, otherwise known in English as Cameroon Indigenous Women Forum, CAIWOF, with one of her objectives to promote gender equality and the education of the Bororo girls and women, initiated this documentary project in partnership with Land is Life, an NGO based in America, to raise awareness and involve different stakeholders to ameliorate their conditions. Over 2,000 Bororo women and girls have benefited from a project in 7 communities of the Northwest region in strengthening their capacities to end sexual and gender-based violence initiated by the organization.
Since 2010, FAC has reached out to many Bororo indigenous community, and a lot have been done in the Northwest and the Southwest region. Most of the structures and the institutions put in place have challenges due to the prevalent crisis in these regions. In fact, we have received complaints from the population in general and from our direct beneficiaries. With this situation, this is very vital to know exactly what is happening on the ground and to seek better ways of handling them. Reason why we initiated a documentary to serve as a fact-finding mission with the support from one of our partners, Land is Life.
So far, over 1,200 people and students who are intelligent and from poor background have been provided scholarship and school didactic materials ever since the organization was created in 2010. The Bororo girls and women attest of having gone through horrible conditions which could not permit them to pursue their education.
They don't kiki all picking them with brothers them. Even we call them, even if I talk now, just be like say cry. We get money for Bamenda, we not get no problem, not get no crisis, but DT don't come now. It don't destroy all things. Even farm will be the work and the chop. Even Jama will be the go harvest time for farm, will not go there.
According to the United Nations report, about 35,000 people from these regions are refugees in Nigeria, and about 195,000 are internally displaced, amongst whom are the Bororo. The larger Bororo people from Bui, Ngoketunja, Momo, Boyo, Menchum, and parts of Ndonga Mantum division of the Northwest region are currently seeking refuge in the bushes, some in parts of Mesam division, the West region, and other parts of Cameroon.
We have IDPs from almost all the 7 divisions of the Northwest region. Those have come from Momo, from Ngoketunja, from Bui, Donga, Menchum, and Boyo divisions. and they are lodged in different parts of the city. That's Bamenda 1, 2, and 3. We know that the Mororos are a particular minority group, which we have been working with them for a very long time, especially given that they have lots of challenges. Once in town, they should know that it's a different ball game altogether. They can no longer turn around and move with have the fresh environment they used to have in the hills, and so it will be important that wherever they are, they should know that they have to integrate themselves into the community for the time being, while the administration is looking for solutions to their problems. These quarter heads are there. They can be able to guide them at their local level on whatever problems they may be facing. We know that there are issues of maybe challenges having to do with water, hygiene and sanitation, even lodging facilities. And so it will be important that they can seek this assistance.
Having stayed out of school for the past 2 years, some of the girls are gradually forgetting what they were taught, to an extent of forgetting to write their names.
3 years I no go for school. No forget for write. No feel write my name.
Some of the Bororo girls who are school dropouts were forced into early marriage due to idleness and the lack of means to continue sponsoring them in school. Some ended up procreating without means of providing the child with basic amenities.
I'm from Jikwa subdivision. This crisis that are out like this. So came here, we don't have anything. So I bred my child. My child was not having milk on her breast. So I was feeding him. So there is no feeding now. The child is sick. There is no money to take him to the hospital. And
how old is the child?
6 months.
6 months.
Yes.
And how old are you?
16 years.
Where's the father of the child?
He's in the village.
Which class?
Form 2. If I have uniform, book, and my school fees, I can go back to school.
Unlike Ibrahim Adama, who for lack of means could not go for antenatal and finally lost her baby in an attempt to deliver at home.
I was going to LCC Mankon, Bamenda. When the crisis started, we went back to the village. I was pregnant. There was no way for me to travel and go to the hospital. So up to the time that we were displaced and we came back here in Bamenda, so I gave birth to the child in the house. Finally, the child died. Then since then, there are difficulties. There's not money to go to the hospital for checkup. So since then, I'm just managing here with my family.
Some parents discourage early and forceful marriages despite the prevailing crisis.
Was schooling in GBHS Center because of this crisis in the Northwest region that have disrupted us not to go to school. Very soon, my father will force me into early marriage that I'm not prepared. I'm willing to go to school.
They were still there. We will still put the picking there for school. They were to go school. The book they were use them for school. So we would like them if they support them for the book them, and the pen they were to go use them for school, and the finance where they to use them for pay the school fees. Get picking them, they go school. They go secondary school, go even high school. So for that one, it be normal for now. No, like that first that way picking your one group small, he married. So that one will be all stop that one.
Some of them prefer learning a trade.
Bengari bedo sofra be amin hado ni jonta min ongiano be sofra hado man be nyalla fere ndotti nyalla fakwonai o heba bana dariol boro o nyaman o yaran wallahi wala ko goddo foti wiya bana kanyum kam so France kam bikkoy fere nasti attaque ni moto bikkoy fere bo nasti don gada boyji ha restaurant ji population kado sofra gal ba min dami non kay himbe amin.
Many of the Bororo girls and women still have the desire to pursue their education despite the prevailing crisis, but lack the means.
Yeah, we are facing difficulties like to study now. So we were in Bamenda for the last year, we were not schooling. So we felt difficulties now to start back schooling again. And then, as you can see in Bamenda, we are not speaking French. So here is a French zone to speak again it's a problem we are facing. Now back at home, we are depending on ourselves, so we are not with our parents. When coming back from school, we suffer a lot, so we need to go take care of our junior ones. We cook. It's not easy.
These Bororo citizens fled from their settlements barehanded after their sources of livelihood had been shattered, thus making it difficult to sponsor their children in school, but will readily do so if they are given the means. Few of the girls who could make it to school in the French-speaking zones still have a litany of challenges, which cuts across basic school needs, integration, and language barrier.
I left GBSS Fundang to Lycée Bilingue de Emana. Everything is boring when you are just there, they are just speaking French. You don't even know whether it's an Anglophone school or French school. Only when teachers are inside the class that you know that you're an Anglophone, but sitting in class you just be calm and quiet.
There's an increase of students coming from the northwest and the southwest regions. They are doing well. The only problem is that at the beginning, because they had some psychological problem because of what they have suffered in those regions. Some were a bit shy, but at this moment, they have been integrated.
I feel happy, but actually not, since they are being displaced forcefully. I will just tell them that by God's grace we pray those crises get over and then we can all return back. For instance, they said they don't understand the French, the people speak around. I'll just tell them that we'll just manage to cope that now. There's no other means.
Some of the schools with insufficient infrastructure still manage to admit Bororo kids. According to this health teacher, the kids usually stay out of school on cattle market days in search for what to eat.
La majorité même des élèves de notre établissement sortent de la région anglophone. Ce qui fait que ici on a les difficultés pour les recevoir dans les salles de classe et les enseignants aussi. Dès le début, ils avaient les difficultés de communication avec ces enfants. Ici, dans notre école, on a constaté la présence des filles Bororo. Bon, aujourd'hui, comme c'est mardi, la plupart partent souvent au marché de bœufs vers la Modame. Donc, c'est pour cette raison que madame, on part au marché de bœufs pour chercher un peu de quoi aider les parents. On a même d'abord les problèmes. Par exemple, les bâtiments. Les salles de classe ne parviennent pas à habiter le nombre des enfants qui viennent de loin. Mais comme c'est aussi les autres enfants, on ne peut pas aussi les abandonner. On leur ramène qu'ils doivent rester avec les autres.
For some, they could not go to school due to heavy sums of money demanded by school heads for admission.
There are 5 of us. My father cannot afford to pay school fees. I'm waiting for my younger ones to go first. The school fees too is too high. Sometimes you go to government schools, they ask you 100,000 and that's not even your school fees. That is like, you give it first before they ask your school fees.
The respect of international instruments attributing indigenous status to Bororo people, coupled with the fact that some are persons with special need, is being implemented timidly despite the crisis. This is rendering admission procedure cumbersome.
When you talk about placement scolaire, there are some teachers that are not want to accept it. But we try because we have a letter from a circular letter from Education Ministry and Social Affairs Ministry. So we first of all go to government bilingual house called BAFSAM. They told us that they have plethoric effective there. It's important to notice that this girl was bilingual. As we was obliged to get a place for her in a bilingual school. Now we go to government bilingual house school of Berlin and we find a place for her. It's not easy.
At the level of Bamenda in the northwest region of Cameroon, a referral center has been put in place to provide psychosocial counseling and other services to the displaced, while the identification process of the victims are ongoing. Unlike in the West region, where the authorities are currently securing the displaced families by promoting legalization of marriages, establishments of birth certificates, a process which also helps to identify victims of forced marriages. The humanitarian aid provided by the Cameroon head of state is yet to be directed towards the provision of basic needs for school dropouts due to the crisis. Rather, it is directed towards school infrastructure and equipments. However, some of the victims have benefited, though not enough. Majority of these internally displaced Mbororos live under precarious conditions.
Tom min jehirta warti hambe jonta ngarti dalneji mabbe ma e ndami je amin ma wala to rese sakuje mabbe dole bo wala fay min potawi go be ngarata dole be ngari.
Civil, traditional, religious, community leaders as well as neighbors of goodwill are doing their best in assisting them with some basic needs.
Yeah, you know, as we already know, they are faced with some crises which have been the cause for them to live where they were and then join us here. The first thing to do is to welcome them. We assist them in the educational way, and those who are not going to school, we try to find at least some handworks that they can learn, at least try and be responsible of themselves tomorrow.
These needs are never enough as more people are being displaced on a daily basis as the crisis persists. Some residents have provided shelter to these internally displaced persons, while others battle with exorbitant costs in rented premises. These community leaders are appealing for more support which could enable some of them to foster education. There are possibilities for cholera, typhoid and malaria outbreak due to the fact that some communities where the internally displaced persons are now living have questionable source of drinking water, toilet facility and other aspects of hygiene.
In the quarter that I'm living, there is no water really. The water that we have there is really too bad. To an extent that when we consume the water, we always fall sick and go to the hospital. We have been attacked by many diseases such as typhoid and malaria. And then the hospital bills are too expensive, to the extent that one of us has to go back to Bamenda.
Much is needed to be done in order to ameliorate these devastating effects of the crisis in respect to education and the welfare of the Bororo women and girls.
You can all bear with me that the situation on the ground needs collective effort in order to ameliorate the living conditions of the displaced Bororo people. Women and girls are more vulnerable as the crisis persists and are exposed to vulnerable conditions like forced marriages, unwanted pregnancies, and also the contraction of HIV and AIDS and other diseases. There is urgent need to solve this crisis so that these children can go back to school.
The victims are expressing the desire to go back to their various localities, thus adding their voices to those of community leaders in calling on the government to advance the dialogue process and to provide adequate security.
If somebody can help me go back to school, I'll be very happy and so grateful. And more especially if they can stop the problems in Bamenda, it will be more good because here to find English school is a problem.
Yo be foti be dabita hore en problema do kadu lara ni gomna bon bana minon kam ala ko min poti bi go dum bojji min boyata Dede no gomna wata pat sécurité min keɓa no min ko ida kuje amin min gona ha pelle amin de min daña dede himɓeji amin pat dañaɓe toon mayɓe pat maɓɓe gudini wala ko ɓe andi gomna da.
The number of the internally displaced persons continue to rise vis-a-vis challenges too.